It's there's so many things happening here. The first is that we're really building websites in a new way. Um, i- and one of the core elements of this new way of building websites is that we are asking developers to take visual designs and break them into reusable components, and that is expressed most typically through content schemas. Because in order to facilitate a blog post that has this element and this property and this ability to look differently, and you basically have developers thinking about, how do I, about generalizing things and expressing them through content schema. The content schema is basically the contract between the content and the visual representation of the website. And the static site generator, or the tool, the build tool that sits in the middle, needs to be able to consume the content according to the content schema, and based on the contents of the content, needs to be able to generate a website that looks kind of like what the content editor wanted to do. So like if your blog post has a checkbox that says, I don't know, um, don't show the date the day this was published, right? And obviously the component that consumes that piece of information needs to be able to not render the date. That's not really an exciting example, but just to say that we're asking developers to do things that they haven't done a lot in the past. And I can say this with confidence because we've seen people thousands of times within Stackbit building and customizing websites, and people don't yet have enough best practices and knowledge on how to craft these content models so that you can express the visual results that you want. One of the problems is that there are multiple ways to reach the same end goal. And most people you don't have a lot of experience with like the pros and cons. And one of the things that can happen is that if you don't design your content schema in a good way, you can enable content editors to break the build process. I'll give you a super simple example, okay? Let's say we have a blog post. Let's say the homepage has a featured section that can feature, a couple of different articles, whatever. And that's basically, you express that in the content schema as a list. And you use a headless CMS. The editor comes in and they delete the current items in the list. They want to put in new items, but they'll do it later. In the meantime, they publish. Now you have a list that's empty. Now you push to GitHub, your build process wakes up. Let's say you use Gatsby or Next.js, whatever, and you wrote some template logic, and suddenly the fact that you have, I'm sorry, 0 items in your array breaks the build. Why? Because you always reference the first item. You didn't create a loop. Okay, so here's an example. Like, we're asking people to do things in a new way. They don't have enough examples and best practices, and so no bad intentions on the part of the editor, but they literally broke the site. The site isn't building. Like, if they had other changes that have were supposed to get published at the same time, those changes aren't getting published. The website isn't really getting updated. So a lot of what we do is we author, AUTHOR. We author what we feel are like very solid content schemas, and part of through the themes and templates that we offer and the components that we offer, that significantly reduce the chance for editors to break the website by doing things that may seem normal to them, but that developers haven't necessarily anticipated. And also within the editing experience itself, because we're always running the build tool in dev mode, like, we immediately know if something breaks, and so we can inform the content editor that the action that they just took was broken the build for whatever reason, enable them to roll back. And basically, if we take a step back, I think we as a company are recognizing this emerging field of, not only can the content schema affect the ability of an editor to break a website, but a good content schema can make it easy for an editor to get the results that they want, and a bad content schema can make it extremely hard or impossible. And through by recognizing that, we're working on educating developers on how to craft content schemas that produce great and intuitive editing experiences, right? So we're recognizing the editability of a website through the quality of its content schema. And to improve that, we're providing good content schemas and we're trying to improve our visual editing experience so that it can overcome bad content schemas.